I'm calling to order the Library Board of Trustees meeting on May 28th at 11:14 a.m. Present are Amy Asdani, David Eckberg, Mary Tinty, and Janet Maney.
Kind of.
And Library Director Ryan
And
Donovan.
Sam Stivers is
Stivers
joining
is
us in the
yep.
attendees. Yeah.
All right. So what do you have to discuss, Ryan?
So this meeting is really just to do a quick check-in before Friday, since Friday is the approval meeting for the building program. This is really to get out any additional discussion. A revised draft was sent to you, so you didn't have two different documents, which was, I think, very confusing in the last meeting. So now you can kind of see that everything is coalescing into the single building program that is going to be uploaded into the final application. We've made continued forward momentum on the rest of the application. I can also, if there are no, I think we should just go around and see if anybody has anything that they want to say about the building program in general. I know David and I have already set a time later this afternoon to kind of go through and edit the existing narrative. So we're going to do that this afternoon. So that is, if you saw grammatical errors, I'll say that is also going to be kind of addressed as we continue.
Yeah, I made changes bizarrely and it looks, Janet, do you have your hand up?
I do.
Oh, I was just like,
because I couldn't do it that way. So
gotcha.
but go ahead and I'll
no, I was just gonna say I made some changes like in just grammatical stuff that was or extra whatever, and it didn't send you notifications. It only started sending them lower down. So I don't know if it saved it or what, but I made it was more just like if it was supposed to be a plural or past tense or whatever, that things like that, but nothing substantive.
Yes, some of those, a lot of those edits should be integrated now, Amy, but I'm sure that David and I will catch.
Oh, no. I just meant, yeah, I just didn't know if, because then I got notice of the ones that were saved and approved or whatever. And it wasn't the first half of my reading. So
yeah, we're basically we're taking everything off the Google Doc now. So it's now going to exist in the Word file, and then you'll get the revised Word file Thursday is my aim. You'll get, if it's early Thursday, it means we finish early, and if it's later on Thursday, it means we were still working. That's what I can tell you. So I'm sorry, just if you guys can make a plan Thursday night to kind of read through the final version, that'll be the last chance, I'll say. But Janet, I know Janet was waiting to talk and we've already talked. So Janet, if we want to go to you.
So I didn't realize we're supposed to make changes to that document that you sent out. I just started making notes. I didn't think so.
No. At this point, don't make changes to the document itself because we don't want to have 500 versions of the document. So you can, it's whatever's more convenient. We can set a time where you can come in and talk with me and we can integrate the notes or go over questions you have, or you can send them to me over email and we'll start getting them in.
Or I can call you.
You can call me. That's also an option. Thank you. There's a third option.
Yeah.
So that works as well. Because that's what David and I are going to go over. I think it's more grammatical edits, right, David? But David, there are questions that come up while we're going through it that I try my best to answer.
Most of mine are grammatical. I've got a couple of items of fact. But I do want to say this looks like a fabulous document.
Yeah, agreed.
So impressed.
Thank you, because I'm I'll say this, I'm very close to it right now. And to me, I'm just thinking about the issues I had writing it. So like to hear that you guys are reading it now all the way through and you're smiling, that's making me feel way more confident, I would say, than I was coming into this. So
great job.
I think it's a fabulous document. I'm not done. I'm up to page 25 or something. But
yeah, so you're close because I think the narrative parts was 29. I will say I did tell David a little bit early just because he was on this morning was, yeah, I did work on this yesterday, right? Only because we're at the home stretch and I want to kind of get this done. The final pages, which are kind of more blank in the version you got Saturday, a lot of those are now also filled in with specific areas. I will say this is not more, this is less of the substantive parts is the back, because it's like we have to put in what are the functions of the restrooms, you know, what are the functions of a library program room, what are the functions of a children's room. Like you guys kind of roughly know all of this already, and a lot of this is covered, I would say, in a more narrative format earlier in the program. The stuff in the back is more kind of charted and then has specific, and these are, I did talk to them last week about the square footage allocations. They are estimates, because Janet, you had asked that question on Monday, and they said that they do understand that some of the square footage calculations may change. So we're doing those to the best of our ability based on what we know and looking at other examples.
It frightens me that you have to explain what a bathroom is used for, but.
Well, I guess so. We have to make fair, Amy, but also we're making the distinction that we are having a staff bathroom
Yes,
in the
gotcha.
new building, right? So
Yeah.
like that one of the, so it sounds silly, right? But
Right.
like that one of the restrooms will now be allocated
Staff.
for, and then we are going to keep two kind of on the lower level of the library, but as we build up, right, we want to add, we only have one restroom upstairs, for example. We want to add a second restroom. So there's actually an aim of adding two additional restrooms, one that will go in the upper space and then also a staff one.
Okay.
Is the executive bathroom going to continue?
I believe that's part of the historic area.
Yes.
So we may look at renovating that if that's possible, because the executive bathroom sounds very fancy, and I promise you all, if you've never been in there, it is not. So
I've looked, but have not dared enter.
And one note about the bathrooms, I think this is because of the scale of our library, you know, they are single person bathrooms as opposed to bathrooms with like multiple stalls.
yeah,
So another perk of that is that they get to be gender neutral.
Gender neutral
yeah.
and changing rooms that anybody can use. So that's
Yeah, so kind of saying that the bathrooms are standardized so that they'll all have changing table. Again, with the exception of the staff restroom, but we may even add the capacity to do that in those, just as I like having all the bathrooms the same, if that makes sense, as much as possible. So. Okay, sorry, my email's going crazy, so I'm just closing it. So are there we are not going to be adding a specific local history room. We are looking at allocating the current space that the teen room is in right now and the Eaton room as storage areas. We're calling the revamped Eaton room a special collections and storage area. So we will have the ability where if we need to put the local history collection somewhere, the plan is to do an interior renovation of that space, build the areas that we would need to lock a local history collection if we identify that we would like to do that in the future, and then put that there. We will look, I think, with the architect at ways that we can make the local history collection publicly available. I don't know if that's going to be through exhibit space or through displays. It might be a combination of all three of those. So I'm just letting you know there's no specific local history room now in the new area. We have to keep Eaton and the teen spaces because they're part of the historic building. So we are kind of in a certain respect stuck with those rooms. Like we can't really punch out walls or modify things in a major way down there. So that's kind of why we identified that as a potential. We'll make sure that everything is very high up off the floor. That's the other thing I'll say too, only because that's the lowest point of the building. But if we move forward with this, we're going to be doing a lot of investigation into how water has come in and how to prevent against it.
Ryan, what is our relationship with Michael Weishen? Are we in sort of competition a little bit with him on this?
No, we're not. We're not currently partnering with the historical museum or the Southborough Historical Society and any active projects. We're not looking at doing that with the Historic Commission either. The library's history collection are things that have been donated to the library, which are for public research purposes. So I don't think we're in competition at all. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't been following the status of the historical museum. I know that they were looking to move at some point. My understanding is they're still looking to do that at some point in the future, but we just are looking at what we can do with our collection, because we have a local collection policy. We do have materials and ephemera from that. We have some exhibit cases, which will most likely go into the new library as well, right? Because some of those are in like Judy Williams. We might just put, the idea is to keep the Judy Williams reading room, I think, mostly the same. So there might be an opportunity to kind of put a lot of the older historical exhibit areas, which are still in good shape, I think, the exhibit cases, into Judy Williams, and have that be kind of like a history area of the library. But
Makes sense.
no, we're not competition, David. I don't.
Okay. Okay.
You know, if people can donate to us or they can donate to the society, they have that option. But we do have criteria of what we collect. And the idea is it would be something that would be of interest to like a historical researcher. So that's a pretty broad definition, but you know, a lot of what we do are like historical annual town reports, things relating to town meeting, because people like to look into that. So.
All right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions going through the program?
No, I think everything seemed covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that I just will update you on the secondary site, because we have to put in the grant application a secondary site for where another library could be built, right? For many reasons, we're focusing on our existing area, right? Which I think reading the program, you've kind of seen a lot of that, right? You kind of know why we're looking at that, like making the investment in our current site. In talking with town officials and looking at the different options for a secondary site, I just assumed we could propose purchasing a property on Route 9 and have that be a potential secondary site. It turns out that's way more complicated by way more factors than I thought. So there is an existing plot of land that is next to the DPW transfer station that the town currently owns. It's a lot cleaner to put in a secondary site option on already town-owned property. That's what I'm learning. So I have talked with our new DPW superintendent, and he is okay with us putting the area in the grant. I also have to work with somebody from the building department, who I don't think I've ever talked to before, and I've already got to ask her for a favor, to get a GIS map where we allocate like the plot of land for the library and the plot of land for the DPW site, so that we have that on a map. So once I get that done, I can send it to you. We also, Mariana and I, were going to try to do it together, because we've been experimenting more with the GIS systems. And I think we could potentially do it ourselves, but we'll get help if we need it. But just to let you guys know where we're at with that, because I know there was kind of background talk about like, oh, we'll just put the secondary site on Route 9, and we're not doing that. So.
Okay.
And the secondary site is a requirement of the grant.
Yeah.
And then, but ultimately, I guess, what determines which one you can move forward with? Is that an internal determination? Is that...
Yeah.
Like the grant will come back and say, oh yeah, your secondary site looks awesome. Please go ahead. Please go pursue that.
Yeah, so I've also been very candid with the state consultants on where we're at in this process, and in the fact that, I mean, we did a massive amount of work, which isn't even in the grant, about a lot of the community center work with DRA. And I mean, some of the DRA recommendations, I think we're even going to give potentially to our new project manager and architect, right? Look at me. I'm already sounding like we got the money.
Yes, no, but
you know, so I mean, we took a lot of looking at other potential sites, and we did mention we're going to miss the opportunity in the grant, but if the town dispenses with the school, if the MSBA does, right, and the town agrees, then we can go back to the state and let them know that that's an option for a potential secondary site. We just, for the purposes right now, can't operate that way. It's not what's called a viable site option.
Right.
So the DPW plot is, even though it's right next to the transfer station, and on the other end of the property are DCR wetlands. So there's a few reasons why we wouldn't want to build a library there, but also it was a more significant parcel of land than I thought. And there was talk over 10 years ago about potentially doing a rec center there. So that was sort of how this came on my radar. Like I saw a hand-drawn like mock-up of what the rec center could kind of be like. And initially we ruled it out because we didn't think there could be sufficient parking infrastructure there, but the property is actually much bigger than I thought. So there actually are feasible ways to do expanded parking there. I know that the DPW superintendent, Bill, did say that he wants to expand the recycling operation in the town long-term, and that is going to be one of their goals moving forward. But again, there might be space over there for everybody. And again, our intention is not to focus on that site, right?
Right.
So, I'm just saying I needed to like look at this though, and not be like, well, we're just doing this to check a box, right? Like we have to actually it has to follow guidelines for library construction in order to even propose it. And that was the issue with the Route 9 areas, is that people are renting the properties, they're not selling the properties. Those are the things I learned. Go ahead, Janet.
I have to leave. I'm sorry. You don't have any questions for me?
No, I think we have to end the meeting though, too, because there's no
or you wouldn't have a quorum.
We wouldn't have quorum after you leave. So
well, you can have a discussion. It can't be the formal meeting. Right?
No, I think we have to adjourn. I think if Janet needs to head out, does anybody have any final questions? Are we confident that we're on the right track?
Yeah, we are very much so.
I will call you this afternoon with like issues.
Okay, anytime after like 3 o'clock, because David and I are going to meet at 2. Okay.
We need somebody to adjourn I'll motion to adjourn the meeting. Somebody second it.
Second.
All in favor? Janet Maney.
Aye.
Amy Asdani. Aye. David Eckberg.
Aye.
Mary Tinty.
Aye.
All right, guys. See you, all of us, hopefully on Friday. Have a good week.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.